All right, we are back with another market report for the Edmonton area. This is in January 2022, using the most recent statistics from the Realtors Association of Edmonton, and that's basically using the December statistics. So I did one of these videos last month and it was really popular, so I thought I would do it the same way this time as well. If you'd like to get a copy of the latest market report, whether you're watching this in January 2022 or maybe you're even watching it months later, I'm going to put a link in the description where you can download the latest report. Right now, obviously, it'll be the January report, but if you're watching this video later, if you go to that landing page, I'll send you the most up-to-date report, whether that's March or whatever month it is when you're watching. So make sure to hit that link in the description and get a copy of the report. Plus, you'll get notified every time I do a new market update video via email as well. So let's jump into the market report. We're going to break it up again between single family and condos, since that's basically the two main markets and two main property categories that people find themselves in. And we'll basically look at single family homes first, and then we'll look at the condo market. So right here, this is our market update, as I said, as of December 2021. So it's using the stats from December, even though we're in January. So the first thing is the market status. And this is basically just to give you a quick snapshot of, is this a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? Just that little bit of information can help you sort of determine if you're a buyer, if maybe you can get away with being a little bit more aggressive on your offers, or if you're a seller and it's more of a seller's market, or if it's more of a buyer's market, that'll help you determine how flexible maybe you should be on your terms and price if you want to get your home sold. So in order to look at whether or not it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, we essentially have to do some calculations to find out what the listing absorption rate is. So essentially, that's taking all the active listings that are currently on the market and then looking at how many homes sold that month. So with a listing absorption rate of 28.17%, in December, that means 28% of the listings that are active sold that month, essentially. So 20% of all the listings that were available got sold. As of December 2021, we had 1,974 listings and 556 listings were sold in December 2021. So that's how you get that 28.17%. And you can see here on this little graphic, that puts us still technically in a buyer's market, but very close to being in a balanced market. It was essentially the same thing last month. I think it was slightly higher, like 29 point something, so it was even closer. In December, it is normal for things to slow down. People are worried about the holidays. Not as many people are actually actively out searching for a home in December. So it is one of the slowest months of the year typically. So that's not at all a concern in my mind from having a slightly lower listing absorption rate. So still a buyer's market, but almost a balanced market. Now, if we look at the 13th month history of the listing absorption rate, you can see that, like I said, last month it was 29.79% and we had a little bit of a dip to 28.17%. But if we compare that to last December 2020, we were at just over 20% listing absorption rate. So it's still stronger than last year. And last year we'd actually started to see things pick up in the fall and even the winter months. You can see that things picked up from December to January, February, March, April, we saw increases. And it wasn't until April that it peaked and then started to drop down. But the key takeaway that I want to make here is that it hasn't dropped down as much as it did last year. And if we get the same sort of thing that we did last year, where we have a ramp up starting in January, February, March, we could even see bigger numbers than what we had here. So we had tipped into, in March, you can see last year we were at 42%, which would have been right in the middle of a balanced market. And then we were at 43% in April was sort of the peak. So you could see we were getting closer to a seller's market, but still in a balanced market. Certain property price points were actually in a seller's market for a few months last year. Properties going over list price. If we have a similar situation this year, since December has already been stronger, I wouldn't be shocked if we actually saw bigger numbers than this. Obviously, time will tell. Nobody has a crystal ball. There's some question marks about what's going to happen with interest rates. That could put a little bit of a damper on demand, but I still think that there's a lot of demand out there right now. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's look at the average price. So in December 2021, the average price for single family was $471,504. I just want to emphasize again, we are looking at single family. This is not the entire market. It's just single family type properties, so not condos. So month over month, that's up 0.89% from November 2021. That's great, having a slightly higher number than what we had in November, considering things typically are slower in December than November. And then year over year, we're up 9.36% from December 2020, which is a nice, healthy increase. Nothing like what they're seeing in Vancouver and parts of Ontario, but that's definitely a nice, healthy increase from last year in the Edmonton market. So again, if we look at the 13-month market history for the average price, you can see that in both this November and December, we had a slight uptick. Most of the gains we made this year were basically in January, February, March. And then we had a little bit more in May and June. And then it kind of petered off from there and dropped in July, August, September, October. So if we have a similar year this year, we could definitely see some gains in the spring. Now, average price trends. This is a 10-year average price history. This is just looking at a year to year. And you can see that it's showing a 7% increase for the whole year on average compared to 2020. And 2020 was up a little bit too, but we did have a little bit of a rough patch before that. So for people that have been looking to sell, last year was one of the first years that a lot of people actually decided to put their property up on the market, since it was a stronger market for them. And if we see more of the same this year, I imagine there'll be even more people that have been on the sidelines, maybe waiting to sell their property, but weren't quite happy with what they could get in the market. So moving on, let's look at active and sold listings. So I mentioned this earlier, but there's 1,974 listings active as of the end of December, and there was 556 sales. So the inventory had actually dropped by 23.52% from November 2021. A lot of that, again, is seasonal. Some people take their properties off the market as they're getting ready for Christmas and the holidays. They, don't want to deal with showings, just want to focus on the holidays and family. So some of that inventory might come back onto the market as we get further into the year, January, February, March kind of thing. And the sales were also down 27.7% from November 2021, which again, I'm not shocked by that. That's again, sort of seasonal. If you actually jump over here for a moment, that 556 sales that we had in December 2021 was stronger than what we had in December 2020. So that still fits with the narrative that I was sharing earlier, that December, even though it's slower than November and a lot of the other months, it's been a much stronger December than we've had in the recent history. Okay, so year over year, our active listings, we're still down 14%. So we got less inventory than we did last year, but the sales was up 20%. So you have less properties available and more selling. So that again, kind of illustrates the big difference between December 2021 and December 2020. Now, if we jump to average days on market, so for December 2021, we had 48 days average on the market, which is up just over 9% compared to November 2021. No surprise there, but it's down 11.11% compared to December 2020. So still fits with everything that I've been showing you so far. And this just shows the 13-month history. With us sitting at 48 days, yes, there was a 4-day increase from November, but last December we were sitting at 54 days. Shaved 6 days off from last year, and we'll have to keep a close eye on it and see kind of what happens here in January, and then moving into February as the market starts to pick up. Now, this is just a little graphic. I showed it last time. It's the market distribution. This is year to date, so this is not just December. So the total homes that were sold in 2021 in the single family category, this is just showing you what price point they fall into. So as you can see, less than 1.33% of the market is under $200,000. Between $200,000 and $300,000, just under 10% of the market. About 30% of the market is in that $300,000 to $400,000 mark. 28% of the market is between $400,000 and $500,000. About 15% in that $500,000 to $600,000 mark. Then we're dropping below 7% for $600,000 to $700,000. Just over 3% for $700,000 to $800,000. Just under 2% for $800,000 to $900,000. And then we're dropping into 1% for $900,000 to $1 million. Actually have a little bit of a jump there. Between 1 million and 1.5, there's 1.75% of the market, and then we're less than 1% for anything over that, essentially. So that just gives you an idea on how the market is distributed. Obviously, the biggest chunks are between 300 and 500,000 for single family homes. Those are going to be the more competitive price points, both on the selling and buying side. So since most of the inventory that sells is in that price point, those are typically going to be easier price points to sell in, because a lot of the buyers are looking for stuff in there. It's a little bit more affordable. Whereas if you're getting into a much more expensive home, your pool of buyers shrinks substantially, just based purely on the fact that that is more expensive than what most people are willing and or able to pay in the market. So something to keep in mind. You may need to be a little bit more generous and willing to negotiate if you're selling a more expensive home. There's just not as many buyers there. Whereas if you've got something in that $300,000 to $400,000 range, or maybe even that $400,000 to $500,000 range, if you got the home priced right, and it's nice and it doesn't need a bunch of work, it'll probably move quickly as long as you've basically got it priced correctly. But once you start getting more expensive, there's just not nearly as many people looking at those homes. Okay, so that's it for single family. Now let's look at condominiums. So condominiums, we're gonna go through the exact same stuff, but before I go any further, just wanna remind you, if you wanna get a copy of the most recent report, and it'll look just like this, you can head over to the link in the description and download the latest copy of the report, whether you're watching this in January 2022 or January 2023. If you go to that link, put in your email, you can download the most recent report from that month. So go check that out. Now we're gonna hop into the condos. Much different picture here. We're getting a listing absorption rate of 13.49% for condos. So as you saw in single family, we were almost into a balanced market, being pretty close to that 30%, but we're right smack dab in the middle of a buyer's market for condos. And I talked about this before, condos have been suffering a lot more than the single family market from a seller's perspective at least, but it's been a pretty good time to buy condos for a while now in Edmonton. As of December 2021, we had 1,987 listings in the condo market, and there was 268 sales in December 2021. And that's how we get the 13.49% listing absorption rate. So that was actually a little bit of a drop from November. We were at 14.74, now we're at 13.49, but it's still better than December 2020. So obviously not nearly as positive of a picture of what we saw in the single family home market, but it still is an improvement. So you gotta take what you can get, I guess. So now if we jump over to average price, so the average price for a condo in Edmonton in December 2021 was $201,760, which is down 8.16% from November, but also down 5.92% from December 2020. That makes it look a little bit more negative. I've mentioned this before, but with average prices, you can't take them too seriously because it really depends on what's selling that month. If you have a bunch of expensive stuff selling last December and a lot of cheaper stuff selling this December, that's going to skew your average price. The average price is not the same thing as like what the properties are actually worth. You need to look at it a little bit closer. The average price is just sort of like a snapshot on what's going on in entirety of the market. So you can see that, yeah, we had some drops in November of 1.13 in the average price, and then December was a pretty significant drop from November for the average price. So we'll have to see what happens. We did have some gains last year in March, April, May, and June for condos. Hopefully for the condo owners and that want to be sellers this year out there, we'll see some gains in the condo market. But you definitely have to be a lot more competitive in your pricing. Don't fall prey to wishful thinking. You need to be realistic if you're selling a condo in Edmonton right now. So this is looking at the average price trend. So we are still up. So 2021, we're up 3.41% on average for the year for condos. So that kind of shows you a little bit better of a picture than when you're just looking at 1 month where you might have been skewed from less expensive condos selling that month. When you're looking at the whole year, it's a little bit more stable when you're looking at the average price. That's good to see that we are up 3.41% for 2021, and that's the first time we've been up since 2015. And in 2015 being up 0.16%, that's not exactly something to get all excited about, but 3.41%, not bad, right? Okay, so let's continue on. So we mentioned before there's 1,987 active condos as of the end of December with 268 sales. So the inventory is down just over 15% and the sales are down 22.54% from the last month in November. But the inventory is actually up a little bit, 3.81% from December 2020. And the sales, like number of sales happening, is up 24.65% from December 2020. So that's also looking better. You can see we just had 215 sales in December 2020 and we jumped up to 268. So we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully we can keep those sales numbers elevated a little bit to keep things going in that market. Average days on market is at 67 days in December 2021, which is up by 9.84% from November. Nothing to be surprised by, but it is also up from December 2020. So we were sitting at 64 days last December, now we're at 67. We were at 61 days in November. Something to keep an eye on. Market distribution, totally different for the condo market. 47% of condos are under 200,000, 36% under 300,000, 11% under 400,000, and then you're getting into 3% between 4 and 5, less than 1% for every price bracket above that. So much different picture. Obviously, condos on average are significantly cheaper than single family homes. So that wraps it up for the market update here, looking at both single family homes and condos. Make sure to remember to grab a copy of that link in the description so you can go and download a copy of this report or the most recent one. As soon as those are available, I'll update them on the link. And I'll also send you an email once I've added a new YouTube video like this, because I'm going to be doing these videos each month now. A lot of people are enjoying them. So if you just sign up, you'll always get the most recent report, and you'll get a link to every new video that I upload about market updates in Edmonton. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you always see my newest videos, and I'll see you on the next video.